I think we all recognize we have a problem with the world. We can't carry on doing what we're doing. We can't keep burning what we're burning, and we can't keep digging up out of the world to make a living. There's going to have to be a smarter way. I have a lot of hope for the next generation. I think the generation behind us are brighter. I think they're more responsible. I think they're more caring. I think they see it better than we do. I think they see, well, we don't have to do things this way anymore.
Welcome to the Blue Ocean Solutions podcast, where we dive into real conversations.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Okay, I'm 50 plus years of age, so I'm a mature individual. I've been in industry since I left school, engineering mainly in the hydraulic industry, the fluid power industry in the UK and Europe. It is a huge polluter. As time has transitioned, I've been able to look at my career and look at green technologies as being a pathway that I found very interesting. I came to that sort of conclusion in my late 40s. There had to be a smarter way of making money without, burning, poisoning, digging up, blowing up the world. There has to be a smarter way of doing these things. And hence why I've been looking at green technologies for the last sort of 10 years. I've been working with startups, micro businesses, university spin-offs, and my job is to commercialize the tech. I've met some amazing people around the world, all over the world, who are hugely inspirational, extremely bright and clever at what they're doing as far as technology, but also in lots of cases very naive in commercializing that tech. And I found I had talent late on in life that I was able to be able to join the dots between the founder and the investor, and in most cases being very, very successful in raising lots of revenue for the startups, i.e. making them commercial, then remove them from the grant chasing sort of business that they are to being commercial, i.e. closing sales. I actually met the founder at a network event. I was working with a company out of the US actually, and I was in London. The founder sort of approached me, explained what they were doing. I'd never really taken the maritime industry seriously, like most people. They're just people on the offshore. They're out there to sea, and we see the ships going by, but we never pay a lot of attention to them. And then I realized that their carbon footprint was bigger than the whole German economy, that their pollution footprint. And they recognize that, and they're trying to do something themselves about that at the moment. He showed me the technology. I realized very quickly it was something I could do something with. And it just captured my imagination. I just thought, this is something that has been tried lots of years ago. 20 years ago, solar was tried to be put on ships, but they're using land-based technologies on maritime sort of vessels, and that doesn't work. It needs to be ruggedized. It needs to be a maritime product. So I've spent the last 3 years repositioning the business, changing the shape, changing what it looks like in the marketplace, but really listening. And I think that's the key thing that we forget sometimes, that we have clients and we should listen to them. So the first 18 months of the role, I just went out and spoke to as many board members, CTOs, companies around the world to find out what they were looking for, what their pain barriers were, and trying to solve them. And I thought this product specifically, it's a clean energy, it's renewable. If we could make it smart, if we could make it future-proof, why would they not want to use it? As long as it was made competitively and the ROI was a sensible time frame, then the maritime industry is quite entrepreneurial in its approach to business. So most of, if not all the owners I met were keen on new technologies, but they had to have a sensible return on investment, which is a standard business approach for many of the Greek CEOs who I found the most open that spoke to me when I first reached back into the marketplace with the product. When I spoke to them, nearly all of them said they've tried solar. It doesn't work. It wasn't efficient enough. It wasn't ruggedized enough. What do I mean by that? It breaks down very quickly. You look at vessels that are 12 miles offshore. The environment, the sea environment, most people don't appreciate is very, very aggressive. Very aggressive. So most of the technologies came apart. They literally, after months, they just failed. So that would left quite a bit of taste in their mouth, as you could well imagine, after investing the first time. So what do they really want? Well, they wanted a technology that was, number one, ruggedized, that could stand the test of time. Secondly, it wasn't too expensive. What was the ROI on this product if they bought it? And the third thing they said to me was, how long is this going to be valid for? Well, am I buying a technology in 2 years that's going to be out of date again, and I've got to redo these things? Because if you look at the size of vessels, we're talking of $1 million investment to put these technologies onto these vessels to decarbonize them. So who's going to actually part with $1 million today, and in 18 months' time, I go back and say, oh, by the way, this model is out of date, now buy this one? It was never going to work. So what I decided to do is ask them really what the problem was. What was holding them back embracing that technology? So one of the key things was it has to go through a timescale, has to be being able to be reinvented. I use this analogy quite a lot, a bit like the iPhone. So what we're building is something that's ruggedized. It's fully upgradable. And what I mean by that is one thing we don't have as business owners or technical people in business is we don't have a crystal ball. We don't know what's coming down the pipe. There's so many technologies coming out of all nations around the world now. And it's the most talked about word in the world at the moment, innovation. Everyone's innovating continually. So we do know that it's going to be an acceleration of process on technology. And we're aware of that very much so. So I went back to the shipping owner and said, look, if I could give you something that was ruggedized, something that would give you the ROI that you wanted, but something that could be upgradable in line with technology development. So you can, one, capital expense, and then as technology allowed us to upgrade the technology inside the energy tile, i.e. the PV, which now is going to be PV and perovskite tandem sort of technologies, would you be interested? And it could be upgraded in minutes, not days and weeks. And it could be upgraded at the shore at the port side. So you're not taking the ship out of service. Big critical thing for them. So we could change it while the ship is in voyage. And the technology not only works when the ship is sailing, when it's moving, when it's traveling from port to port, but it's also going to address the biggest problem that you have is when it comes to port and it actually sits outside. Now, we have a great example at the moment. We have this craziness in the world with Iraq at the moment, and all of those vessels that are stuck in the strait outside Iran. Now, they're going to be sitting at anchor, burning fuel, waiting to do something, waiting to move. We're in a very good position to offer them an energy while it's sitting there or while the ship is moving. Now, the technologies that are being developed today, and they're wonderful technologies, amazing technologies, all of those that come into the marketplace, are all concentrated when the vessel's actually moving, when they're actually sailing, under sail, wind technology, hull design, hull coating, bubble systems underneath to create an aquaplane for the vessel to make it move through the water quickly. Amazing technologies. But they only work when the vessel is actually moving. Ours works when it's actually under anchor and when it's moving. So there's a huge opportunity to offer additional benefits to the client there. And that's a stage-by-stage process that I've learned by talking to most of the CEOs and CTOs in the world about exactly what their problems are. So I believe we have a product that's made sustainably. 80% of our product is made through recycled products. It's upgradable, so nothing's going back to landfill. We can repurpose all the products within it. So we're not really a solar panel. We're an energy tile. Solar panels have a place in the marketplace. They do. They're very good technology, but not necessarily the large panels that go on ships. They're quite delicate, and obviously we're talking about solar. So there are certain parts of the world where solar is highly desirable. And there are parts of the world at this current moment in time that are not highly desirable. And we have to take those into consideration. Where we're based in Europe, we have tax incentives that the EU offer for ships that are greener. We have carbon taxes here. The European market tends to be more aggressive than the US and the Asian market. So there are different locations in the world where the product sits very, very comfortably. And what I mean by that is when I spoke to the shipping companies, a couple of things that were very, very, very important to them was, number one was ROI. ROI had to be under 6 years. That was their key. Anything under 6 years was highly attractive to them, and they would really sort of embrace that. So that was number one. Number two, the product also had to be easy to install and take away again. I never understood why, but they wanted to take the technology with them if it left. So those are the critical things that they spoke to us about. Depending, and this is where people say to me all the time, well, how much does it cost? Well, where's it going? What's its travel location? Where are you in the world to make this attractive? And there's been a couple of occasions we've spoken to people and said, no, we're not ready for that area. Now we're looking around the North Sea at the top near Norway. Is it attractive as it is around Miami? Well, of course it isn't. The sun doesn't shine anywhere near as much in Norway as it does in Florida. It's just a fact. We've just run a trial from Australia to China, again, which was shocking because the data that we're receiving, most of it was on the web. We've had to go through our own data collection, so we've had systems on all ships around the world collecting sun data, collecting the power ratio of the tile. The China to Australia trial was 3 weeks of high sun, huge potential, massive potential back on the tile, and then virtually none because it went around China. and it was cloudy and it was raining and it was an awful, awful location. But we needed that data. So we now can track where our product in the world is at its most valuable, and we target the people specifically at that level. But this is the important thing as we're moving forward. And this is where, if you remember, I go back to talking about being able to upgrade the technology inside. This is why it's critical. At the moment, and we've been talking about this for a long time, but we're very close now. There's I think it's Tandem PV in the US, Swift Solar in the US, and there's Provosky, a number of the companies, and Oxford PV in Europe. They're all looking at perovskites and perovskite silicone sort of products. Now, why is that important? Well, perovskite is highly attractive on a dark day. So if you've got no sun, it still captures light, it still captures power and efficiency and delivers something. The great thing about perovskites is it's also highly attracted to blue light. Where's the biggest area of blue light in the world? On an ocean. So then we start to look at things where we would normally have a high efficiency in Florida. When we start to have the perovskites coming online, then it starts to balance the world out. So our business model becomes stronger and stronger and stronger. So as we're going up this chain of technology, as we've all seen, from conventional analog phones to now digital iPhones and everything else, we know technology is going to allow us to increase the efficiency. So how we're presenting ourselves to the marketplace today at the moment is, what we're saying is, wind technology is fantastic. Do more. Put more sails on your vessels. It's great. It's fantastic what you're doing. But don't forget, solar is a technology. That's the only technology at the moment that's actually going to be able to grow. As technology allows it, it's going to become more and more and more efficient. And being more efficient, delivering more ROI, reducing the cost. So ROI at the moment for our product, depending on the area, can be anywhere from 3 years to 9 years. When it gets to 9 years, no one's going to buy it. We accept that because it's just not an attractive proposition. But anywhere around 5 to 6 years, and we're in a very, very sweet spot for the market. Since the start of this year, we've been ready to go commercial. We've been doing extensive trials for 2.5 years. We needed to. We've been working with the classification boards such as DNV, Lloyd's, RENA in Europe, and Veritas. We've been working with the certification boards to certify the product for the marketplace. And we're a long way down that road now. So we're now ready at this stage to do our first commercial installations. And we've been doing some small ones. We've been doing lots of trials, just as proof of concept, environmental, and all the rest of it. But what I recognized at the start of this year, because I'm fairly new to this role, I came on as the commercialization director to commercialize the product, which I've done so many times before. And then the investors behind the company realized that we needed some focus. We needed someone that would push this into the market. And I was asked to take the leadership role. So what my plan was at the start of last year was to start building the team. And what you said is right, is if we're going to play in the Premier League, we need the Premier League players to play in that league with us. So what did that actually mean? Well, we needed much more maritime expertise in the business. I recognized that. So I went out and recruited a chief operations officer who has 15 years in the maritime industry, not just in the maritime industry, embracing green technologies, recommending green technologies, evaluating, knowing green technologies. And hence he liked what we were doing, saw the future, saw what we were trying to achieve and what we're going to achieve, and embraced the role immediately. On the back of that, we then had to look at ROI very closely. ROI is, I've been in business for 40 years. I know how critical it is. So then it was about, how do we make the product very smartly? How do you make it smartly? Fewer components, make it more ruggedized, but also reduce the cost. How do we take a huge lump of cost? The only way we could do that is to automate the process. So I recruited a supply chain officer who had worked with multiple blue chip companies in the aerospace industry, connections around the world, in the US, in Malaysia, and in India, and Europe. And we simplified our supply chain. And then we put a process together where we have a manufacturing location in Bilbao in Spain now. We bring the products to a location, we manufacture, we test, and then we can actually deliver from that location to anywhere in the world. Our process around that is, we were looking to do that in the UK, but we were too expensive. The Bilbao market has helped us reduce our product by 68% so far. We're looking to the US in the future and the Asian market. So we're going to have 3 locations around the world to ship from. That's our plan going forward. A very good question. I've actually never thought about that process, other than I've done this for all the commercialization part of a process, whether it's been in maritime, infrastructure, water products I've done medical products. I suppose the only thing I can answer that is being very direct to the point. when you're pitching this, you're looking at people who are embracing technology, and that's very easy to find. It's not complicated. You'll see through PR, social media, the trade magazines, you'll know who's buying new vessels. You'll know who's upgrading vessels. You'll know these people that are actually, working from certain port locations. Any port location in Europe, you're going to them immediately because there's a huge uplift for them to do the technology. So there's savings both ways, from carbon to obviously fuel reduction. And then it's literally, we then pitch up, we then go and speak to the board. We're aware, we do our homework, where the ship's been refurbished, etc. And then we just give them a calculation. We generally say to them, we know where the ship's going. It's going from A to B, whatever A to B looks like. And then we can calculate what we see as the fuel saving. We can save you this. We can save you this amount of money on this individual trip and deliver X amount. We can deliver 120 kilowatts of energy on this route here, or of this distance here. And we break it down. What does that look like? Well, it looks like this, as in value terms. That's where the business is now starting to evolve quicker. I've just taken a chief financial officer who's taken a number of companies to the stock market in the UK and the US. And we've now sort of repositioned the business ever so slightly, but we've given ourselves a second option. I never wanted to sell the product. I never wanted to go out and just sell this as a procurement product because, number one, it has a limited lifespan. If we're selling something for 20 years, which is the lifespan of the product, you can only sell it once. You can only sell this product once. The upgrade is harder. The idea behind the business now is we're looking at a platform where people can lease the product. And every 3 or 5 years, depending what the market allows us to do, if the efficiency of the PV becomes substantial, we can do it quicker. At the moment, PV efficiency rate is around 25%. Oxford PV, Provoskia, Swift Solar, lots of companies are talking about 30% plus. 30% efficiency on a PV energy cell is huge return for a client. Now, if that happens, I'll be overjoyed. I don't see it this quickly, but in 3 years, we're going to see a huge uplift in efficiency. That means it's a huge uplift in ROI for our clients, bigger savings. So our plan now is to offer a leasing option. We can lease this product. No capital expenditure, run it on your OPEX. Every 3 years, get an upgrade. And we're just doing the iPhone scenario where we go back and offer things. At the moment, we haven't included the AI software into the product. We got energy optimization software we can put into it. It's a recommendation software. We say that to people, and I'll tell you why we say that, because maritime people don't like to be told what to do. The engineers we're talking, they're not interested in being told. They're maritime people. They've been doing it for generations. So we decided we'd call it an energy optimization software as an option. This will give you an option. You can peak shave the energy on this journey. And what I mean by that is, on these 6 days, you can use all the energy and switch the generator off, because it'll have enough time to build the energy back up when it sits at port, so you can use it again. So it's a bit like harvesting energy as it goes along. So yeah, that's changed our business model. And I think that will accelerate once we become full. Yes, we have number of clients. Unfortunately, I can't name them, but have a number of major clients that have taken a great interest in the leasing model. But it's very difficult with startups all around the world. Forget about nations. We're all the same when it comes to startups. Crossing that bridge to commercialization is difficult. It is a stumbling process in lots of cases. Would we like to lease it from day one? Well, it would be brilliant if we could. But the issue we have at the moment with the way the world is at the moment is appetite from investors. We have a number of people talking to us, but we need something with bigger ambitions. The people we're talking to at the moment, they're interested, but again, it's can we sell this and can we have a quick return? This is a far bigger opportunity. And at the moment, we've just had conversations, and I've only shared with you very briefly some of the things we're doing. At the moment, we're doing commercial ventures. We're doing commercial maritime vessels. We also have super yachts. We have a different shaped hull for a super yacht, and we have a product for a leisure maritime industry as well. So it's quite a big platform we have, one we don't share openly, but one we would like to bring to the market fairly quickly. Yes, and it's not just money. It's not just money. I'm still shocked that the interest we've had. We could have sold the company twice, fairly comfortably. is the company for sale? Well, every company's for sale, but at this moment in time, we wouldn't, or the investors panel wouldn't realize the true potential. So they want to carry on with the journey. So our current investors don't want to leave the business, but what we need at the moment is the right investor to allow us to accelerate growth, not carry on with the day-to-day operating the business, because we're well funded. But how do we get to the stage where we can supercharge the acceleration process? That's what we're looking for, as well as finance. It would be nice to find the right finance house that has an interest. And I'm not being disrespectful here. What I mean by that, an interest of wanting to be part of our journey, not just here's $1 million, give us $5 million back at the end of next year. Here's $20 million. How are we going to capture the market globally and being part of our journey? I think for any business, and I've done this quite a lot now, the best investors are the ones that put their arm around you and stand next to you and say, we're going to do this together. And they invest in the team at the same time, because it's all about the team. Those are the types of people I'm interested in talking to. Success this year. Very simple success. We have this written down on our action board in work for everyone to see. We're not a big team. We have a chief operations officer. We have a chief commercial officer. There's myself as the CEO. We have a CTO. I have 2 graduates that I've appointed to the company as well. Wonderful young couple of gentlemen that have got lots of different ideas, which is really nice to see. And we have a fantastic supply chain. We have, they're not our suppliers. They are our supply partners. They've committed to us, which is great to see. So for me this year, it's very simple. It's finished the large 6,000 tile hatch cover installation. We're doing one major installation. Finished the RENA or DNV classification, where we're at the end of one of them and we're going through the second one. So in other words, we'll classify the product to go there. And the third one would then be to raise $5 million, because that would allow us to open a size of the market which is astronomical, which we haven't talked about. We haven't talked about the tanker market. At the moment, we're not certified for that market. Why? Because it needs what they call ATEX approval. It's explosion proof. It needs an ATEX approval to go on the vessels, which is a bit more complicated, not impossible, just a bit more legwork. I'm a bit reluctant to go down that path until we actually finish this path. That coming up behind is substantial, is unbelievably large for us. And we would be the only one in the world then that would be certified to go on those vessels. So that's the plan as we move forward. So those 3 points are the key ones. Yes, it will do. As the company evolves, I see the company's going to need to raise in the region of $25 million to get to the level of volumes of tiles that need to be made and facilitate a major acceleration into a global market, because it is a global market. The £5 million will complete the automation process. It's the automotive, the automation process of what we're doing. It will help us recruit the final people we're missing. It will help us over the ATEX barrier. So again, it'll open up another large market we can embrace. So it will give us a huge opportunity to move forward. Anyone that's any US investor that's invested in green technologies, that looks at the future, it's looking where we're going. Look at that. I hear this so many times, mainly in Europe, especially with investor funds. Well, we might as well put our money in Amazon. Yeah, really? That's their argument, because they know that there's no risk. Well, investment is risk. It is risk and reward. It isn't difficult. It's investing in the people, but it's also investing in what you see as the future. We're offering something, and this is something I'm quite proud of. The platform we've built, it's the only one in the world. The way we're doing it, we're the only people in the world doing it. Has it got an opportunity for growth? It's got a substantial opportunity for growth. I'm talking hundreds of millions here. We're not talking of anything smaller than that. The market is just so large. But in a US investor, having worked with them, I do have a warm feeling around lots of them, because they're quite aggressive. And that suits us as a business. We want to do this. We want to be commercial. We want to be successful. There are lots of opportunities in Europe at the moment, which the US market probably doesn't see, but we can apply for grants from the EU, or a grant for this or a grant, but that's not going to accelerate our process. That will just allow us to bump along and carry on going. I think we're past all of those processes. We are where we are. We've got a wonderful chairman and a major investor. He's looking for a partner to come in with him to help him accelerate this process. He's been with the business a long time prior to me being here. So yeah, anyone to do with maritime, green technologies, sees this clean energy market as an opportunity, because at the moment we're just talking about energy tiles that go on ships. they go portside. When I say that, because you can walk on these things, you can treat them like a conventional tile. It's not a solar panel. When people watch this, they'll think, well, a solar panel is quite weak. It is. You can't walk over the tops of conventional solar panels. They break. They're not very strong. Correct. They're not very good for the maritime industry. Correct. You can't put them near the side of if your house was right next to the shore, they'll corrode because they do. We've sort of moved that process completely away from what we're doing. We've manufactured all of that out of our business, even down to how we fit the tile. We fit the tile by bonding it to a ship. We don't weld anything. We've worked with the largest bonding manufacturer in the world called Henkel for a purpose-made bonding solution that allows us to bond the tile on and helps prevent rust. Now, that's pretty smart, some of the things we've done. So, yeah, we have a big journey ahead. We're on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is our major platform because it's a global platform. Most people use LinkedIn. You can find Marine Solar on LinkedIn. You'll find me on LinkedIn. Our webpage is live and it's updated daily. So we're easily... We've embraced energy as a whole as a company. And I'll explain why I've done that as well, because so many of the shipping companies pointed their finger at me and said, not another technology, not another techie thing. Well, we're not. We're an energy company. Marine, solar, energy solutions. Google that, you'll find us. So even with me, my email address is mark@marinesolar.energy, not .com, .energy. So we're an energy company. And we've done that deliberately because we're trying to reinforce that message to everyone out there is we're an energy company. That's what we want to be. 5 years. Well, hold on. Let's deal with the first. In 5 years, I'm fingers crossed I'm still here and I'm still breathing and I'm still healthy. That would be a huge plus for me. In 5 years, I see we're going to have some changes. I think this Iraq war has shaken the world a little bit again. There's going to be change of governments all around the world. I'm not pointing fingers at any particular government, but governments change, they come and go. Policies change, they come and go. But I think we all recognize we have a problem with the world. We can't carry on doing what we're doing. We can't keep burning what we're burning, and we can't keep digging up out of the world to make a living. There's going to have to be a smarter way. I have a lot of hope for the next generation. I think the generation behind us are brighter. I think they're more responsible. I think they're more caring. I think they see it better than we do. I think they say, well, we don't have to do things this way anymore. So in 5 years' time, I think there's going to be a reset in the maritime industry. The IMO, the International Maritime Organization, at the moment has some very, very tough targets that have been pushed back mainly by the US for whatever reasons. They're debates, but I think they're going to be a reset. And I think Europe has been very good at resetting environmental standards. It's pushed very hard. It's been good for the UK. The UK needed pushing hard as far as environmental standards, as we all do. So I think we're on a journey that's not going to stop. I think there'll be a pause. I think there'll always be pauses. I think there'll always be disagreements on the Paris Agreement and all this sort of stuff. But I do honestly think everyone sitting in power today really knows we need to do these things. It's just strength and courage for someone to say, no, we're doing it. So in 5 years' time, I think we're going to see an acceleration of this sort of technology. I see there's going to be another generation moving into the workplace that's going to also be pushing that. And what I mean by that is the great thing about there's some horrible things about social media, but let's just embrace some of the good things about social media. People on the street now have power. They have power to stop buying from people they don't want to buy from. There's knowledge out there that they never had before. So I think companies are going to be more mindful about what they do, because there's a huge generation coming behind us that say, you're not looking after our planet, we're not buying from you. We're not going to trade with you. And their share price will suffer from that, or their client base will suffer from that. So I think I see that as on the horizon, perhaps not in my working lifetime, but I do see in my lifetime that will have businesses substantially suffer for not doing the right thing, because there'll be an impact for not doing the right thing. CEOs and people behind closed doors who I always say only do things for two reasons. Does this make us money? Does this save us money? They'll be really focused on that now. Are we green enough? Are we doing the right thing? I hope that's going to be the case, but I do feel that's coming. Thank you.